Hey family, welcome back to my desk. I'm Dr. Dandridge. If you were a person who was of the Jewish faith tradition and you were buried under a Latin cross, how would that make you and your family feel? Well, I want to introduce you to an organization today that is actually correcting those wrongs and reinterning military persons who were buried under Latin crosses who were actually of Jewish descent and replacing those crosses with the Star of David. Let's take a look at what Operation Benjamin is doing, and then we're going to come back and have a conversation about what it means biblically to honor a person even after they've transitioned. Okay, let's take a look together.
In this cemetery outside Rome lay more than 7,800 Americans killed in battle liberating Italy during World War II, now buried alongside rows of beautiful Roman pines.
Faith in each other.
And on this day, families of 3 soldiers traveled to Italy from the U.S. to honor their sacrifice.
Today we are setting the historical record straight. We will give them the marker that is appropriate for their faith.
More than 80 years after they died, correct inadvertent errors, burial beneath Latin crosses instead of Jewish stars.
We're all here in some way to honor those who have rested here for all of these many years under an incorrect identity.
All thanks to the nonprofit Operation Benjamin, which works with the American Battle Monuments Commission. Shalom Lamb is chief historian.
Many of the servicemen who are buried under crosses, even though they're Jewish, it's because they didn't want to show that they were Jewish on their dog tags.
Right. There was a real fear of being captured, and if you were captured by the Germans in particular, that was really terrifying. These are not purposeful. These were true errors. America really tried to get it right, but they naturally missed some. And our job is to come back after all these decades and find those guys. It has happened again and again and again that I introduce people to someone who's just a shadowy figure in their memory. They were real flesh and blood human beings, and we know that story.
Stories like that of technician 4th grade Ben Bernstein. His nieces and nephews finally learned details of their uncle's sacrifice. A member of the elite 1st Special Service Force, killed by a Nazi grenade on December 3rd, 1943, in the Battle of Monte La Defensa.
Your name is Ben.
Correct.
You are named for your uncle.
He was a hero. He was always a hero in everybody's eyes. But we knew so little. We knew he stormed a hill in Italy and died. We knew he was a paratrooper. We knew he volunteered for a force. That's about it.
Now they are here, giving their uncle a proper burial.
This is the gravesite of 2nd Lieutenant Sheldon Finder, who was shot down and killed on August 16, 1943 during World War II. As you can see here, he was Jewish, and he's laid to rest beneath a Jewish star. Well, the only other person to die in that very same mission in August of 43 was Paul Singer. He was also the only other Jew in that mission. He's under a cross. That's going to change.
In death, they are 9 feet apart. In life, they were 3 feet apart. One was the navigator, one was the bombardier.
Paul, on behalf of the members of your family and on behalf of the Jewish people, we welcome you home.
Your cousin, Paul Singer, died 82 years ago, and he's been under a cross until today. What did it mean to you to be here and to be a part of the ceremony to honor his Jewish faith?
We are very committed Jews. It's so special to have something from your religion that's connected families.
He was orphaned at 16. He was an only child.
Right.
It's probably why it took so long to have this changed.
Right, because I'm sure they were trying to contact these aunts of his, but they didn't, there wasn't any other family. So it's nice to be able to be here and represent the family to be able to do this.
Sheldon Finder's family feels the same way.
So this is your uncle?
It's my Uncle Sheldon. Oh, I have a great picture of my
My father and my uncle as children.
Did your dad talk about him?
Very little, very little. I feel like by being here today, I honor his quiet grieving for his entire life.
Until now, there was never a proper funeral.
No, as a matter of fact, I don't think anyone in my entire family has ever been here before.
The two families met here in Italy for the first time.
I knew the name, and I knew he was buried here. I didn't know he was buried this close, but then to meet them is really incredible.
It puts a lot of meaning to this whole experience, that it's not just about one person, it's about all of these individuals.
Headstones in military cemeteries can only be changed with approval from soldiers' families. Shalom Lamb does the research.
The amount of proof we're required to deliver it to the American Battle Monuments Commission is really huge. It's really tough, and it should be tough. We're changing something for eternity.
The stone from the cross that's removed never leaves the cemetery.
We lower our heads in gratitude and respect to these silent civil sentinels who have so majestically stood guard over these young men for all of these decades. How magnificent is it that these men here in these grounds were comrades in arms against a common foe, good on one side and absolute evil on the other.
So let me introduce you to Operation Benjamin, a nonprofit with a holy mission to identify Jewish American soldiers buried under Christian Latin crosses and ensure that they are correctly honored with the Stars of David. Now, if you're like me, you might be thinking, why would Jewish soldiers have crosses on their graves to begin with? Great question. Many of these brave soldiers who fought and died in World War II were mistakenly buried under crosses due to clerical errors, loss of records, or assumptions made in the chaos of war. Some families may not have been contacted. Others may not have even known where their loved ones had fallen. But Operation Benjamin, named after Benjamin Zusman, a Jewish American tank commander, partners with the American Battle Monuments Commission to lovingly, respectfully, and painstakingly restore these memorials to reflect the true identity of the fallen. Can you imagine the weight of that responsibility? To not only dig through military records, personal letters, and religious documents, but then to petition governments to go through sacred ceremonies in order to replace the cross with a Star of David. See, this isn't just paperwork. In my opinion, this is holy work. And I believe that we should be honoring the identity of people even in death. So I'm sure you might be asking, now, why does this matter? Because in my opinion, identity doesn't stop at death. And honoring a person rightly, even in their absence, is part of our spiritual responsibility. Let me bring some Bible into this. The book of Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, and the first verse says, "A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of birth." Why does the scripture say this? Because by the time someone dies, their name, their legacy speaks. And to have that name remembered incorrectly, that's a wound that lingers beyond the grave. Think of the story in Genesis, the 23rd chapter, when Abraham negotiates to buy a burial site for his wife, Sarah. He insists on purchasing the cave of Machpelah, not borrowing it. Why? Because honoring the dead matters. He wanted to bury her with dignity, with permanence, with identity. And in Jewish tradition, memory is sacred. And in Christianity, we echo this in our emphasis on the resurrection, the fact that God remembers. So how can we do anything less? Let me ask you something. If someone stood at your grave 100 years from now what symbols, what words, what monument would tell the truth about who you were, about what you believed, about what you stood for? Don't answer that just yet. Just hold on to that thought, and we're going to come back to it in a minute, okay? Now, here's what's powerful. Operation Benjamin doesn't, just work here locally inside of the States. No, Operation Benjamin does much of its work in Italy, where over 7,800 American soldiers are buried. These are sacred sites of international remembrance. In one powerful ceremony, as you saw inside of the video, they replace the Latin cross with the Star of David, while the deceased soldier's family, who had never visited Italy, stood in tears, seeing their loved one honored correctly for the first time in over 80 years. See, in my opinion, this isn't just about religious symbols. It's about truth. It's about restoration. It's about saying, we see you. We see who you were, and we will remember you rightly. It reminds me of the story inside the book of Acts, the 10th chapter, where Peter has a vision and is told, what God has made clean, do not call unclean. The message behind this: respect people's identities. Don't force fit them into your assumptions or traditions. See, it's so easy to let uniformity trump understanding, especially in institutions. But God is a God of particularity, a God who knows us by name, not just by number or role or rank. Let me ask you something. Because why is this kind of work gaining such attention now inside of our time? Could it be that we're in a global moment of reckoning, or a moment where we're being challenged to correct the stories that we've been told or failed to tell, for that matter? Keep listening, because inside of an upcoming conversation, I really want to dig deep into how communities are revisiting monuments, museums, and memorials, and what it means to rewrite history with truth and grace. But first, let's wrap up this conversation for today, okay? In the book of Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter and the 7th verse, it says, "Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you." Memory is a ministry. It is how we carry the past with honor and hand it to the future with clarity. That's what Operation Benjamin is doing. They are quite literally going back through the years and making sure the days of old tell the truth. And here's the thing. They're not changing history. They're correcting it. They're saying, this man was Jewish. Let us mark him as such. Let us honor him properly. Let his children and his children's children see the star and know the truth. That's a legacy of truth. That's a legacy of love. So here's what I want to leave with you today. I want you to take a moment this week to remember someone rightly. Maybe it's a friend, maybe a relative, or even someone in history whose story was told wrong. I want you to ask yourself, how can I be part of telling the truth about their life? And if you want to support the sacred work of remembrance, I want you to check out Operation Benjamin's website. I'm going to put it down inside of the description, because they are always open to donations, to volunteers, and partnerships. And as always, if today's conversation moved you, taught you something new, or even gave you a fresh perspective, do me a favor, subscribe. Subscribe to this community so we can grow in grace together. Put something aside in the comments. Let me know of some episode or some conversation starters that you'd like to see me cover inside of the future. And then, of course, visit our store that's connected to this platform, as well as the affiliate links inside of the description for books, guides, spiritual resources, and whatnot to help you live with purpose and also to live on purpose. And don't forget, inside of an upcoming conversation, we're going to dig deep into how memorials can be both healing as well as harmful, and the way that faith has ultimately given us the opportunity to rewrite the record. Thank you for joining me at my desk. I'm Dr. Dandridge, and from my desk to your heart, I want you to remember that truth heals, that memory matters, and honoring others is never out of season.